Everybody take a deep breath and release. Just know that we are a family here and we all feel each other. Amen? And so my talk title this morning is What You See is What You Get. And I guess you can take that various ways this morning, right? Humanity. And also, I'll think, for some reason, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. I don't know where these titles come from. They just come into my brain sometimes. But this morning we have been talking, or this month, we have been talking about seeing things with spiritual eyes, 2020. And we started off with Reverend Harold talking about, I can see clearly now. And then Hank Lewis said, seeing beyond experiences. And last week, I talked about awakening spiritual perception. So, you get the hint? It's spring. Yay. Everybody say yay. Yay. It's spring. It's spring. Yes, officially, spring is here. The season when everything comes alive again. I don't know about you, but I have been watching very intently all the dead shrubbery in my apartment complex. Every day I go out and I say, come on, you can do it. And I see one little green leaf pop up, and I'm like, I hope they're watering them. Like, now they need water. And they say, don't cut them. Don't cut them. But I'm like, we can do this. We can do this. I urge them on every single day. Everything I look around, I go, oh. And then I say, oh, there's one. He's got 5 leaves. This one's got 1 leaf. We're making it. And then the one next to him has got nothing yet. I'm like, you can do it, buddy. Look at the people around you. Look at the other bushes. They're able to do it. You can do it. You know, spring reminds us that divine life is always pushing us to expression. Yes, always pushing us to expression. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to express ever so slowly. Unity teaches that manifestation is the same way. It's the same way. What we nurture in consciousness eventually blossoms in experience. Yeah. What we nurture eventually blossoms. Emily Cady, a New Thought writer and Lessons in Truth. I'm going to hold the book up. This is one of Unity's foundational books if you're interested in reading some of the Unity lessons and teachings of the New Thought writers. Emily Cady was one of them. And she says in her book, she talks about the mortal mind versus spirit mind or divine mind, right? So the mortal mind or the ego mind gathers information from the senses, what we see, hear, taste, right? And the mortal mind reacts to appearances. So, you know, the willingness to push the plants. Come on, you can do it. I'm reacting to the appearance. The appearance is they're dead, but they're not. There's still life coming up. Yeah, the mortal mind can trick us. Now, some of you may not remember this, and some of you will, but when I was about 8, I saw on TV that you can get a pet rock. And I was like, whoa, I need that. The box had holes in it, so the rock could breathe, you know? And like, I needed that rock. And you know, some people had beds for their rocks and water bowls. And I'm like, you know, I want a pet rock. Big thing on the Christmas list. Now, if you're younger and you go, what are you talking about, Reverend Cotter? Why would people buy 1 million rocks in 6 months? Because that's what happened. The mortal mind gets fooled by appearances. And then I got my rock, and it didn't do anything. On TV, it was jumping around and stuff. But mine just sat there. So I forgot to add imagination to the mix there. So not realizing that that's what was going on. What you see is what you get. I got a rock. I just sat there. You know, eventually, though, I have to be honest, I wanted like a painted rock or googly eyes on my rock. You know, I had to make it a little bit different than everybody else. Some of you may know, but you may not. I received a 3rd-degree black belt when I was in my 20s. Don't ask me to bring my leg above my hip at any time soon, because that is not happening anymore. But one of the things that used to happen is I would go in to do class, and there was always this one instructor that always did a basics class, the beginners. And I was a black belt. I didn't want to sit here in the beginners class, but every single time he just did the basics. So I got to go back to the basics sometimes. So we're talking about spring and the principles of unity. Principle 1, God is one presence and one power, everywhere present. And when we say what you see is what you get, what we're talking about in spring is divine mind, what we see in our divine mind, the source of all creation. Yes? The plants do not have to think about what they're doing. The seed didn't have to wait for proof, right? It is already, because there's an inner pattern already established. And so that pattern just activates, and then it just blossoms. And we talk about aligning our mind with one presence and one power. In us is already a pattern. And sometimes we have to activate that pattern, right? Mortal mind sees limitations. Divine mind sees possibilities. Yes. Principle 2, we are expressions of God. We are expressions of God. As spiritual beings, we are endowed with the power to choose. So, instead of paying for a rock in the box, I could walk out and get a rock for free. And then I can take the rock and I can skip it across the water and make ripples. Right? And so we express beauties to others. What we see is what we get. We get a rock that doesn't do anything, or we get a rock that makes ripples. Yes? Yeah. If we see will and understanding, we receive willing understanding. If we see love, we receive love. What you see in yourself is worth affirming. What you see is worth affirming. You deserve all the good things as well. Principle 3, our thoughts create our experiences. What a man thinketh in his heart, so it will be. So Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, calls this imagination. Imagination, the forming power of the mind, the forming power of divine mind. This is the time to do it because it's spring, right? This is kind of the second release. We did the burning bowl in January. Now we have spring. It's another release, right? Another opportunity for growth. Principle 3, our thoughts create our experience, which I already said that. So therefore, you experienced it again. See how that works? Okay. You're with me. Whatever image we hold clear and consistently is what we receive. Prayer and meditation, principle 4. Prayer lifts us out of the mortal mind, and meditation quiets the senses so that we can perceive the truth, right? In prayer, I choose my vision. In meditation, I keep it steady. In principle 5, we live the truth as we know it. So once we see things differently, we live differently. Yeah. So we release old patterns, winter, and we reimagine our lives. That is spring. So one of the things that we're doing as we kind of wrap up this month, I'm going to kind of bring everything together because we've been talking about spiritual vision. We've been doing the Lent series, Release and Reimagine, if you've been following the book. And next Sunday is Palm Sunday, and the following Sunday is Easter Sunday, believe it or not. It's going fast, right? So we're moving into a new consciousness when we get to Easter Sunday, right? We were resurrecting new ideas and new consciousness. So how do we finally release now this season of Lent, the winter, letting it go, the mortal mind? How do we release it? And in the book, on page 39, I liked how Reverend Claudia almost said this. How do you reframe this release? First, you identify a situation that you have established as a challenge or an annoyance or a problem. Then, you observe the facts. We talked about that last week, looking at the facts of the story only, just as they are, just the facts. 3, you pay attention to the story that you're telling yourself about what you see. That's the mortal mind. Ask yourself, is what I'm thinking real? Is what I'm thinking real? Like the pet rock on TV? Or is it a mental assumption? Mine's going to be just like theirs. Am I willing to see it in a different way? If the answer is yes, then you're ready to reframe it by using the power of your imagination. The power of your imagination. If the answer is no, go back to step 1. Go back to the basics. Just look. Look at the facts. Listen to the story you're telling yourself, and then reframe that story. So spring is not just a season. It's not just a season. It's a consciousness. It's a consciousness. What we see is what we get. And we see blue skies, and that's what we get. So, what you see becomes what you do. And what you do becomes what you see. Let me say that again. What you see becomes what you do, and what you do becomes what you see. See? So we're going to do a special releasing, because I know that there are church members that come in and see something like this and go, what are we doing today? Yes, I knew just like somebody sitting in my seat. I don't know. What are we doing today? And so, in just a moment, we're going to take a little time today to do a release and reframe. So the ushers are going to come forward. Now look at me. Everybody look at me for a second, because this is really important. They're going to hand you a baggie. Don't go there. Okay. I know some of you are going there right now. Okay. You know, mothers love baggies, so this is like, a mother thing. Inside the baggie is a piece of paper. This paper is special. It disappears if it gets wet. So don't lick your fingers and take the paper out of the bag. Otherwise, it's not going to be the same experience. So let's start handing those out. And they have some pens as well. As they're handing those out, you can take the paper out. Just don't sweat on it, lick it, or anything like that. In a few minutes, we're going to take the opportunity to write down on this piece of paper what it is that you want to release from the mortal mind. What do you want to let go of? Now, it's good to do it again because we did it in January with the burning bowl. But now we're 4 months into the year, and it's good to do it again because we're going to go into a new season of Palm Sunday and then Easter. It's time to affirm what we want to see in the world and in our lives: peace, love, joy. And as we enter into meditation, when you feel called, once we get going, then I invite you to come up at any point, drop your paper into the bucket, and it will disappear. Without the baggie, yes. The baggie will not disappear. The paper will disappear. So you're going to drop the paper only into the bag. So we'll wait until they finish. Everybody has one? Raise your hand if you don't have one. Raise your hand if you need a pen. All right. So as you're preparing and writing, I'm going to light these candles. So let's take a deep breath and release. And just relax. As you think about what it is that you want to release, it could be a word, a person's name, a phrase. We light this candle in honor of all those to our north, circling the globe with love. We light this candle in honor of all of those to the east, circling the globe with harmony. We light this candle in honor of all those to the south, circling the globe with peace. And we light this candle for all those to our west, circling the globe with healing. And so as we continue with our meditation time, you're welcome to come up and start dropping your papers as we just relax. If you're seated, just relax your body. Take a deep breath. Allowing our divine nature to come forward as an expression of divine mind and Christ consciousness. We let the light, love, and power restore the earth. We envision humanity in peaceful presence. as we release these situations, places, and things with love. We reimagine what we want for ourselves, for our family, and for our community. As you are seated, close your eyes, take a deep breath. As we move into our heart space, we take a moment in the silence to just let go and pause. Take a deep breath. And as you come back to this place and time, as you become present to the person next to you, this Lenten season, the ending of winter, we become willing to release our past into spiritual perfection. As it says in our booklet, to reimagine that it was the ideal lead up to this session of your unfolding of all you are in God. We are reimagining that this is the ideal lead up to this season of your unfolding of all you are in God. You have an amazing God-given ability to access divine ideas to help you understand that which you have experienced was more about how you came through, but more about remembering. Remembering that you are worthy, that you are Christ consciousness, and that as the season changed, you are being pushed forward to express something that comes by nature. And so as you go out into this world this morning, remembering that we have let go, winter is no longer, spring is here, and we move forward with enthusiasm, zeal, power, and strength. And so it is. Amen.